It's that time of the year again when we start talking about the budget cap. And apparently, 3 teams have breached it. This could get messy. So the budget cap. Well, the budget cap we're talking about right now is from 2022. Teams all submit their financial records, then it's trawled through by the FIA, who then make sure that everyone is within the rules. The financial rules are complex, but there's already been talk recently that the FIA have been closing loopholes, and the team have been using outside engineering parts of their companies that are designed for engineering or even supercars, and they've been using the data from that to aid them in Formula 1, but it's not been included in the budget cap because it's not directly Formula 1 related. And the FIA are trying to close these loopholes because it's the top teams that it's benefiting. Teams like Aston Martin, McLaren, Mercedes, who all have supercar projects. That's part 1. So it's been reported that 3 teams have breached the budget cap, but we don't know what 3 teams, and we don't know by how much. What we can do, though, is probably rule out some teams, and that is what I'm going to do. I'm going to rule out teams like Hadz, because they just don't have the budget, and last season was the first time they really had enough budget, because they're sponsored, to even get to the budget cap. So I'm going to rule them out. I'm also going to rule out Alfa Romeo, because, well, if they have been spending too much, then that is a real concern considering how badly their car has been performing. I'm also going to rule out Williams. Now, any one of these teams could be one of the perpetrators, let's call them, but Williams is an unlikely scenario because, again, financially, they're not the strongest. Some of the lower ranked teams don't even have enough money often to be hitting the cost cap, so I'm going to rule out Williams. It might be easier to say which ones I think are in the running. Mercedes, Red Bull, McLaren, Aston Martin. I believe, and this is my opinion, that those 4 are the most likely candidates to have breached. Ferrari are up there as well, so Ferrari is a possibility, we can't rule it out, but Mercedes, we know how many upgrades they've been bringing lately, but remember, this is for last year, not for this year. This is for 2022. So they didn't bring a whole new concept last year. They stuck with that zero pod design. So this is for 2022. Mercedes are likely. McLaren, perhaps. But again, it's been this year that McLaren have been making big inroads. Red Bull, there's no way Red Bull could have breached the cost cap 2 years in a row. That would be absolutely... I think the whole community would go mad if Red Bull breached it two years in a row. So if they did, then I don't even know what to say. Aston Martin are an interesting one because they've been really setting themselves up for this year and going forward. So have they overspent in certain areas, maybe even unrelated to the car, to get them to that point? So Aston Martin are a possibility. Alpine, on the other hand, are very similar to Aston Martin. They've really been setting up their infrastructure. So it's possible, but you imagine it's going to be one of the top teams. Aston Martin last year had a penalty because they submitted their reports late, but they weren't over the cost cap. That was for 2021. So Red Bull, McLaren, Mercedes, Aston Martin. I think they're the most likely candidates, with Ferrari, on the outside. So now, between July and August, these teams that have been investigated by the FIA are going to have to get all their ducks in line and prove to the FIA that they haven't breached the cost cap in whichever way the FIA requires them to. But we're not likely going to get any information on this other than leaks until September. September is when we'll know for sure who has breached the cost cap and by how much. That is going to be interesting. Very quick video today, just covering this breaking news. I hope you found it interesting. If you did, like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.